Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Master of Orion 2. This is the start of episode 3. Just in time. I hadn't even looked in on my leaders in a while. See how expensive he is. Definitely. So I almost always hire leaders when they're available. They don't come around often enough for me to ignore them. There was a planetary leader that came by earlier that I just did not have the money to get, and I still regret that. So, I'm playing on a small map. You might notice there's a lot fewer stars than most maps. And I'm playing against 8 opponents. It just, it's so dense that it's just, playing the game this way has an edge. To be honest, I feel like I'm doing really well. I control 4 star systems. You can see that no one else controls 4 star systems. And the Trilarians have a colony on 4 stars, but they share it, one with the Cylons and one with the Altarians. The Altarians themselves share with the Sakra, a planet here, a star there. So there really is a lot of humanity on the map. I think I'm doing pretty well. Let's turn the music back on. What's going on? So I got my face handed to me when I played as the Klackons. I'm doing a lot better this game. So I have some goals. For one thing, the Antarans have not attacked yet. I would like to survive the Antarans attacking to unify the galaxy. I would also like to capture Orion. Previously, I failed to capture Orion and lost it to the Cylons. So that's still a goal. But I do feel like this map is more friendly to me than most maps I've ever played, and this game is making me feel uncommonly comfortable. Alright, so they're sending a battleship to Slaw. I'm sure they're there to make peace. We have come in the interest of peace. So I'm very interested, though, in the Slaw not getting overwhelmed with enemies, because I need them to be in the elections running against me. If the Slaw go down, my allies will become my election opponents, and I need them instead to work with me. I have to declare war on the Sakra. I will declare war on the Sakra. Alright, so what's that mean? Orion go in there. Do I have any? Alright, everyone go to Sol. And I'm gonna go ahead and try to just capture the capital of the Sakra Empire. Usually capitals are better than most, not outposts. Capitals tend to have big populations, they have big capacity for population. And I'll have a transport pretty soon. It seems like the Sakra are pretty primitive. Everyone is ganging up on them. Alkari can invade. But the Trilarian fleet is like running too far behind, so I might actually be able to get my ships off before they do, which would be pretty cool. Alright, so I have 1 transport. I would like to have 2, as I did when I attacked the Darlocks. Alright, so I'm not gonna have 2. Let's just leave it at that. Spent everything I had on a transport troop. Alright, so what's going on? 1 to 2 turns. Alright, so I think the question is, if I wait, will I be able to get another transport? Or can I buy it? Or should I send my fleet today? I can buy one more transport. Alright, so I'm going to wait one more turn. I know that the I'll carry without transports. I'm not going to be able to capture Slaw. So it's like not going to remove the opportunity for me to send my troops and capture Slaw. But if I'm lucky, the Alkari will attack Slaw and destroy their star bases before I ever get there. Sweet. Gaining levels. Nazan Prime has been fully assimilated. That's good news. I think that means their farmers might be more productive. Or not. Alright. They attacked me. I actually, alright. My strategy should be... Well, Firefly 2, I want to concentrate my fire. Oh, let's go back to that. We gotta turn. We're running away. This whole time, we're always moving towards the back. Another Firefly 2 fires his missiles there. Yeah. All my Firefly 2s, at least the first set of them, are gonna focus fire on the bigger ship. I think I can wipe out their ships if I use my missiles judiciously. This guy's actually going to target the scout. This guy is a scout. He's going to move forward because his life is basically very cheap. And I want him to attract fire while actually not being very useful or meaningful. Alright, I'm going to send these missiles after the boa. There. Another Firefly. Okay, back to the Viper. Alright, Scout. I might actually give these missiles a few turns to hit in the hopes that I can get a better read on what I should do with my second bank of missiles. I'd like to see if one gets exploded. Ah, the scout did. That is nice. Alright, well, some of my guys, I'm pretty sure no matter what I do, I need to keep firing my bigger hitting missiles at this bigger ship. I will spare one bank though for that other, for the BOA 4. Alright, sweet. Perfect. Excellent invasion. Ha 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 ha. They don't even have shields. The primitive lizards have earned their death.
Same scout, huh? Alright, the Firefly 2s, their missile banks are worth far more destructive than the other ones. I'm actually, lucky that the Sakura attacked me. I was able to destroy their ships. Thing is, if I had to fight their ships and the starbase, then their ships, I probably wouldn't have had the missiles to destroy the starbase. I would have retreated. And then when I retreated, I would have had to waste like up to 4 turns before I could even come back. So by destroying their fleet before I even got to the main part of this conflict was a huge coup. Alright, so I had predicted that when I had the Mercurolite missile that I would have an army that could start blitzkrieging the galaxy, and I am actually doing that. You know, I took Nazen pretty quickly, and now I took a pretty cheap excuse to go to war against the Sakura. I'm gonna invade their worlds, and it's nice. I'm actually taking over the worlds of races that have racial bonuses I can really exploit. Their populations make perfect slaves because they become so numerous, and they expand the population limits of my worlds. And also because I'm trying to win a democracy game, I'm going to be able to use their racial bonuses to really pad my democracy statistics. Alright, 8 versus 13. I'm going to bombard for a little bit. Oh, looks like I used them all. Alright, invade. 20, 30. Hopefully that 30's enough. Actually, the 30 was more than enough. What the heck? The anti-grab harness really put me over the top. I even came over the fact that they're subterranean and they have the AI bonus. I got some tough dudes. Dauntless. Alright, so is that already implemented in missiles? Because that would be... no, I think that's a special. I have to attach to my ships to use it. Alright, that was a huge coup. I mean, I just already just, boom, took over Slaw. Just like that. Man, we are the Space Marines. We're coming to your world. We're gonna tear it down. You know, you have to feel a little patriotic taking back, taking a world for the humans. We are the humans. The humies. Alright, so I am a big believer in taking over whole star systems. I definitely don't want like the Trollarians or something else taking some small fraction of the other portion of Slaw. That's a pretty populated world, 1616. I would love to conquer it. Well, these transport ships, they ended up working out. I have enough bonuses to actually pursue it. I want to, if I fail to seize star systems like Slaw or Nazen, then it's just a matter of time before one of my rivals seizes those star systems. So I always have to be expanding my borders aggressively. Alright, next turn I'll get to attack the other world. I think I could take it, but and I'm talking about taking it in a land invasion. Alright, I'm not going to retreat this time. Just fire missiles. 4 infantry. Oh man. Well, I'll go ahead and bombard. And I'll try to invade. Roll the dice. Alright, I didn't win. That's a drag. Spirit of friendship, huh? You're gonna beg. But you're not even the person I'm invading yet. No. You declare war? Well, I think a few things happened on that turn. What is going on food-wise? I do not have an extra food that I could spare. Slaw. Do they tell me how many soldiers are on that? I'm not gonna bombard it yet. Wow, and if I had given the Koldan wow, that's a big Silicioid fleet. Am I at war with them? I don't even know. I'm like... Okay, it says no treaty. We're not technically at war. I gotta think. I'm disappointed in what the insect people did. I thought that we were gonna be able to like have a good relationship. Alright, no tech from you. Alright, so I have 2 people that are at war with me. I should really push for some of my allies to be at war with them. Except for I want to be able to exploit, you know, oh, they're at war with the Cylons. I'm glad that no one's asked me to go to war. Alright, I'll have another transport ship arriving. I was disappointed to lose Slaw. I shouldn't have attacked the other world, because then I could have had another transport there already. Cancel. I'll have to figure out what I want to do about that Silicioid fleet after the fact. Alright, I'm being pretty dang aggressive because I want Slaw. It annoys me that fell to some other, that they rebelled against me and I didn't retain control. So I'm going to do my main track, my main tactic where I'm just going to spend one whole round of missiles on one battleship, spend the next round of missiles on the other battleship, and maybe see about leaving some leftovers for the lightning boar down here that no one cares about. The Firefly 2s pack vastly more punch than their predecessors. Alright, I think that I probably spent enough ammo to totally take out this battleship. I guess let's see. Sakura have some weapons for those neuron blasters. Neutron blasters, not neuron blasters. Alright, so I'm now targeting the upper battleship with those my missiles. In the hopes that between my two banks that I actually can just like totally take out this opposition fleet. Meantime, of course, I am retreating so as to avoid their missiles for longer. Fire a few at that other ship. It always sucks when you fire, when all your missiles are done, you don't have any more ammo, and the enemy's still there. They're barely still there, but when they hang in there and you're out of ammo and you have to retreat, that really sucks. Right, this is a Firefly 2. I'm going to save his missiles in the hopes that he can do some cleanup on any surviving enemies. They're about to experience all the missiles. Hopefully they don't have really good anti-missile systems. They're pretty good. Not good enough. That was heartwarming. Alright, everybody keep retreating. If we have to, we will start charging the enemy and self-destructing. Again, I'm hoping it doesn't come down to that. Took him out. And I get a radiation shield the next turn. Humans have a lot of power so far. Alright, I gotta keep it up though. My enemies are only gonna get more strong and more dangerous. All right. All right. Security stations and that sort of stuff don't usually matter unless I'm the one doing the space piracy. I don't think space piracy modifiers are very important. However, a neural scanner that will last the whole game. And it's also the most primitive technology in my arsenal. So maybe I should improve them. Well, I had to attack your ships. You were going to steal my colonies. You were going to take this insurrection from the Sakura and you were going to make it really suck for me. Alright, so that's a whole lot of war and a whole lot of allies. It's too bad my allies aren't at war with the same people I am. Alright, these guys really aren't doing well. Let me see if I can get some tech from them. Fusion bomb for what? No. I want you to declare war on the Silicioids. Why can't I even, like, who the heck is who? Vora Canona. I think that Yes. I shall ask you to get involved in a war with Varkanova. Oops. Please make peace with Thinyon. Your suggestion is found accessible. Okay, good. Please declare war on. Alright, so I kind of pushed the boundaries with him. I got him to declare war on the Silisons. No? Maybe they'll make peace next turn. That would actually help our alliance a lot. Alright, death to the lizards. Plus 30 versus plus 20. What? Oh my gosh. Like, sometimes the dice just aren't rolling in your favor. Alright. That was in my... those guys followed through with peace suggestions. Make war, not peace. Alright, I am really irritated with my transport ships' failures. Buy one. I'm gonna need more than one. I think if I had 2 transports, I could have taken that planet. That is really lame. Just gonna stay here. Anyone I can hire? No. Two transports. I think I can take Slaw. Alright, so these guys are really big. I mean, the Cylon they always get everything. I gotta remember, what does a tachyon scanner give me? Alright, so that won't make me any more money. I have a feeling like heavy armor might actually be important later. Just a little bit. Heavy armor, certainly not as important as reinforced hull. But it is a bonus that doesn't go away. Those are pretty important. Alright, planetary supercomputer furthers my research. Obviously, research is a big part of my victory strategies for conflicts. Alright, another Silicioid fleet approaches Slaw. I will definitely destroy that fleet. I didn't have a chance. They took it. Well, I shall take it back. Don't auto. I don't want to auto because sometimes they retreat. I think I fired enough missiles. I'm just hitting done. This is my world. They have like no bonuses. It was that much easier to take. But seriously, my world. Alright, Hayek's doing alright. And they're going to build a radiation shield soon. So Hayek will be joining the rest of civilization. Actually be a hospitable world in the near future. Slaw conquered. Oh, I have to wait. I have to wait until my my slaw are no longer slaves, and then I can actually start shipping them around. So I'm actually making a lot of food. That is nice. I wish I had destroyed that Sakura ship. Alright, what could happen if I attack the other world? And do they still have those same racial bonuses on that other world? I certainly don't want to attack and then... Oh, if I just hang on for another turn, I can get that soil enrichment finally. But it... Alright. Bombard. Alright, I survived to win. Ooh, I got the pulse-on missile. Okay, that's really big. Because now, how I used to really love the nuclear missile, the mercular light missile, is now the old nuke. Now I can MIRV, I believe I can MIRV mercular lights. So I shall look at that and see. But that could be potentially like a really powerful weapon, and maybe I could even challenge the Cylons and take over this map before the game gets on very long. Alright, so I captured the Sakura star system. That's okay. I can dig it. I got more food than I need, so we'll go ahead and put that on production. I am worried about like a counter invasion. I mean, not a rebellion. No, don't buy that. I'm gonna try to build some more transports after the soil enrichment. Who's coming? It's another 2 battleships. Alright, turn 120. You sank my battleship. Alright, so I easily destroyed the Chrysalon pair of battleships, but now I face a pretty formidable foe. It'd be sweet if I had missile launchers, a missile base. Or if I had a missile base, I would easily destroy these ships, because now that I stole the pulse-on missile from the Sakura, my missile bases would be automatically upgraded to shoot those most sophisticated missiles. Alright, so 2 battleships approach, yet another transport. I actually think, I anticipate being able to fight off the Klackon invasion. Klackons just don't pack the punch. I mean, they pack a punch, I guess, whatever. But 24. It would be nice to have a missile base somewhere inside the Slaw star system. My entire navy is committed to Slaw. If something funky happens, some other part of my map, I don't know what I would be able to respond with. I have a missile base, they're gonna have a star base soon. That is pretty dangerous. Research lab. Alright. Kinda on the way. Alright, next turn. Battle at Slaw. Alright, what did they think they were going to accomplish? They got fusion beams and pulse-on missiles. Well, I'm not looking forward to seeing those pulse-on missiles land. Anti-missile rockets, pulse-on fusion beams. Alright, that battleship's more aggressive, so I guess I will shoot it first. Then I will shoot the other one. I can only imagine that the Klackons got a pulse-on missile by invading someone else. I don't think they had the scientific research that could get there on their own. Sweet. All right. And that makes my target prioritization much easier because both ships, I took down the 2 ships I aimed at, and then I have a whole another set of missiles that I can fire at this enemy Klackon battleship. I have to admit, this fleet though is cutting it pretty close. I wonder if I could use another fleet. I mean, like another build out of my battle forces. Alright, another nice thing about having some really like primitive missile ships and then I have my much better Merving nuclear missile ships is that it seems like that their anti-missile weapons fire at my really bad missiles and then my Merving missiles come in later and face much less resistance. An easy wipeout. Wow, a radiation field is going to change so much about this world. I'm just going to buy it. This world's going to be able to sustain light for the next turn. Alright, destroyed all those ships. Gonna destroy that transport when it arrives. Hell yeah, human empire forged in blood. The blood of insects. Alright, that really is controlling 5-star systems. I'm not saying the rest of the universe should live in fear
But I really have exploited the weak, gained territory, and I'm the most far western empire of like the Grand Alliance. That is like the humans and all these races that treat them so kindly. The Trilarians, the Altarians, the Cylons. They surround my human empire. And then the antagonistic races, the people of Chryslon, the Slaw, the Klackon, they're all on the right-hand side of the map. And now I'm actually the person that has, like, of my allies, I have the most western planet. I also have the most eastern star system. So I have Slaw, the most western one. And I can't help but feel that maybe this is my opportunity to absorb these star systems. Like, I'll just go and pretty quickly invade them. Like, I have just crushed all 3 different nations' fleets all in a row. So as soon as I have some stability on Slaw, I have practically a moral obligation to absorb these other 4 star systems. Phantos, Usika, Kolden, and Chryslon. They're kind of distant for my peers, these other races that are right next to me. But if I can turn this disunious, whatever that word is, these guys on the right-hand side, they're not united. If I exploit that, absorb them into my empire, I'll have a huge power base, and I'll probably get voted in president of the Milky Way, or whatever the deal is. Alright, so that kind of means, like, let's go automated factory missile base, so I can actually have some defense here sooner rather than later, and I don't have to wait around forever before I can feel like I can move on to the other star systems and kidnap those. Alright, so my most obvious priorities, though, are going to be to take Chryslon, take Koldan, because they almost invariably will have a home world for whatever the home race is. And it's typically guaranteed to be a very nice planet. Alright. This world was barren, and now it is... Wait, this world was radiated, now it is barren. That's kind of a step forward. You still can't grow any food, which kind of is a detraction, but you know, whatever. Alright, so we got a lot of science going on. I am down with that. So this is a 1-4. I think if I transfer... Shoot. If I transfer a human... No, Alright, so I'm looking at Ruzam's second. And you see how the population potential shoots up immediately. They used to only have a 210 max. Now, with a subterranean race bonus, they can't build a research lab any faster, though. I will spend money on that, though. Definitely wish I had my transports coming online, though.
I want marine barracks a little bit earlier, not hydroponic farm. What's going on? I want the marine barracks so I can start developing transports, so I can invade these other planets. My biggest problem right now is I actually just can't produce space marines fast enough. All right, let's go back to Holy Terra and see how quickly I can produce a couple more transports. Overall, I would like to build a radiation field shield, and then I'd like to build a transport, and then a missile base. Maybe build another transport before the missile base. Missile base is a lot of security, but I feel like I need to exploit my ability to project power while I can, and that means building some dang transports. Destroyed another Koldan ship. Looks like I'm gonna destroy some more Silicioids in the next turn. How about that? Ha 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 ha. Alright, so I really wish I had that missile base though. What if I did all 7 turns? Alright, so missile base will help. I'll still do it. 9 turns. Alright, so I do think my fleet has enough punch to just absorb this Silicioid threat. Yeah, actually, that would be a good hire. For your fleet. Alright, good. I'm in the positive on freighters. So a big advantage I have is I can attack and I can retreat. And since I'm at my own star system, I will only retreat to my next planet. So then I can basically refill my missiles. And meantime, their ship should be damaged in between combats. So the missile damages they take when I attack will be compounded later by worse damage. Not worse damage, but it'll be compounded because the damage I do, they don't have advanced damage control yet, so they won't recover from all this damage. Oh, shoot. That was not how that guy was supposed to go. Alright, you're done. Anti-missile defenses are pretty painful. Took out the big battleship quicker than I anticipated. Hopefully this guy falls quick too. Hopefully my missiles are still on target with something. Alright, that guy, he had enough ammo to actually finish this battle. Alright, that was easy. Well, this sucks. The Cylons are now running against me. That was a vote I actually needed. I needed them to vote for me. Ah, shoot. And because I have some really hardcore enemies, I'm actually not even winning those votes anymore. Alright, so they're building biospheres, but they are maxed out on population, making it worthwhile. So I'm producing 10 extra food, huh? Alright. I was trying to find the balance between food production and other production. Alright, because my enemies in this part of the galaxy are pretty weak technologically, once I get these missile bases built, I practically won't have to keep my navy at home defending them. The sooner I can build that missile base. 204. I might get there in a turn or two. Alright. It's time for me to really start thinking about what I'm going to do to be able to destroy my enemies and completely conquer the rest of the map. Alright, microbiotics will change the way my population grows throughout my empire all at once, so that is a pretty nice bonus. Alright, Cylons. They want supercomputers. Honestly, the Tachyon communications actually makes my empire more affordable, being a pretty big bonus. Cylons are gonna research anyway, so the fact that they're coming to me to trade is like, hey, pretty unique. And I suppressed some rebels. Wow. Thank you. I am not in a position to start losing ground. Alright, it's time for me to try to trade some tech, see if I can get anything good. Yeah, they can't do anything useful with something like that. Augmented engines. So augmented engines actually can really impact your naval battles. You do get slight bonuses to beam defense and missile defense. Doesn't come up that much, really. Why do these other aliens always stay at war with me, but they never stay at war with these other alien races? Well, I offered them peace. I offered them a chance to have a scrap or two from my table. I definitely have other build priorities besides whatever I just built there. I'm going to put most of these guys on research, and next turn I'm going to come back and buy those missile bases. Wow. Well, operations? What does that mean? Well, that's a pretty good leader. I'm definitely going to aim to hire them. Of course, first I'm going to buy a missile base. As if there was any doubt. Ha 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 ha. So built a transport vessel. I feel like it's getting longer and longer to travel to Slaw. Somehow it's taking longer to make that trip. All right, so the real question is, do I want to capture Chrysalon or do I want to capture Koldan? Well, they're both really weak. They have like no technology and will be easily exploited. So the real question then is, who has a better star system more worth conquering? So I'm going to go ahead and send out an expeditionary force so that I can have a point of view on this. So I'm basically going to arrive, and my plan is to retreat immediately. But when I come back, I'm going to have some transports. Alright, 11 turns. So as I zoom in, I can finally scan the other fleets, and I see they actually have quite a bit more fleets. Alright, so Chrysalon. There's actually some really nice worlds here on Chrysalon. Human, Silicioid, Klackons. And then Koldan has... it has 4 worlds, which is a really nice advantage. But I definitely think that the Silicioids have more for me to plunder. Alright, I have to wait some more turns for those dudes to arrive. I have one more turn for that to arrive. I decided on Silicioids. It's going to take me forever to conquer these star systems because they're all fully populated. I think it's time to get terraforming because my planets are starting to become pretty good. Finally, the Anterans make their entrance. I actually had almost forgotten about them. They're not a part of my plans. I hope they're not going to totally destroy one of my colonies to start. To tell you the truth, the Anterans can be pretty overwhelming when you have so few resources. Slaw. Everyone's coming to Slaw. It'll take them 5 turns. Alright, 5 turns to Slaw. As I recall, missile bases aren't all that useful. Radiation shields kind of are. Oof, this is tough. But I'm going to build a radiation shield because I have to fight one hell of a devil. Chrysler's really congested, but I want to take a nice big world I can really populate. Those were big bonuses. Plus 40. They had like no bonuses. If only I could build transports fast enough. Oh, a neutron blaster is actually a pretty powerful weapon. I know, you know, I'm getting to the point where I'm like reaching a critical mass. So for me to talk about like, well, in the early part of the game versus the end of the part of the game, it's a little facetious. Turn 135. Pretty early in the game, and I've done pretty well for myself. I'm really vulnerable. I'm really counting on no one, you know, my so-called allies. If they honor the alliance, we could actually do pretty well. I could do pretty well. They will not end up doing much more than kissing my boots. Alright, I'm not going to buy a robo-miner plant. I think it's pretty important to get one. I might buy one in the near future. But I actually want to be able to defend Slaw. 3 turns for radiation shield. Tell you the truth, it's hard for me to pull this fleet away from Chrysalon. I realize these little terrorists are attacking me. But between the missile bases, hopefully the radiation shields, that might be enough to not be annihilated by these little twerps. 9 frigates, 6 transports, starbase and starbase. Well, I'm definitely way more powerful than he is, so let's just... I'm gonna push until I actually get deflected. Wow, they actually destroyed a ship. I hadn't lost a ship in so long, I was taking that for granted. I should have been retreating, but I just didn't feel like taking the time. I might have mentioned the Merving nuclear warheads earlier. Did I ever say that they were the secret to my success? They won? I don't understand how, with my bonuses, they even had a chance. Alright, so I have 4 turns until my own troop transport arrives. They have 3. Who's coming? A Klackons. It just takes so many turns to travel there. Yeah, I would. Alright, I've decided to attack the Klackons. They have a battleship and a starbase present. That is a pretty big commitment. My plan is to destroy the battleship and retreat if I need to, and then come back and destroy the starbase. Alright, I'm gonna fire. Fuck. They have shields, so I am gonna fire all my missiles at that battleship. I'm gonna stick to the original plan, destroy the battleship. Who cares about the starbase? Maybe come back for that later. I'm disappointed. I was definitely hoping that would be enough to kill off that son of a bitch. Alright, continue to move towards the far edge. Hopefully the last few missiles I have that are en route are enough to like take out that ship. If not, I'm gonna have to start upgrading my fleet, because obviously, I mean, I've relied on this Merving nuclear missile navy for a while, but the enemy is starting to get better. That should kill him. Yes. Sweet. Alright, I can retreat. Oh, that hurt. I lost 3 ships. They're super cheap, super lightweight ships, but I've been pushing my navy pretty hard. I honestly should probably build more infrastructure behind my own lines. Alright, it's getting really late. I have done a fair job leading my human empire. So I think this should be just about the end of episode 3. Let's take a look at the history graph. Everyone is struggling to keep up with the Cylons. You can see them way out ahead. Otherwise, humans and Trilarians have really separated themselves over here. The humans actually control so many more star systems than their rivals that I would really generally think that the humans should be rated much higher. Right, population alone, humans have the biggest population. That will become an asset. Sakra used to, but now I control Sakra population. Humans have the best buildings. Some of that might be the fact that I have more colonies, so I just have more buildings. Well, apparently fleets change a lot, but the one thing that's consistent is that for the human fleet is taking an upward trend. I guess everyone has an upward trend. Cylon fleet looks pretty impressive. It's always near the top. You will notice that anyone that's ever been my enemy, their fleet starts off doing pretty well, but it inevitably turns to 0. And here's the biggest advantage the Cylons have. They just have so much more tech than everyone else. Trilarians are also doing really well. I am surprised that the humans are only in the middle of this pact. Alright, so I am going to save the game. That is the end of episode 3. I think episode 4 bodes pretty well. I will have to fight off the Antarans. I think my my colonies will survive. I don't know how much damage the Antarans will do, but I do think my population onslaught will survive this. And so I want to capture Chrysalon. Definitely a goal. I want to drive the Koldan out of there and maybe even capture Koldan. I definitely want to capture planets and not let my own allies gain power. I want to gain power exclusively. And that's an important part of actually winning the game at the end. If I tarry, any of these other empires could gain quite a bit of strength. Also, I mean, I'm really counting on my allied status. I'm counting on diplomacy protecting me. As you can see, my fleet is vastly more invested in the right-hand side of the map, but my actual population and empire is on the left-hand side of the map. If an enemy decided to exploit that, I would be really vulnerable. However, I have
really close allies surrounding me, and they seem to behave as if the alliance actually meant something. And that's keeping me pretty safe so far. So it's a turn 137. In turn 139, we will actually have our first conflict with Antarans, and I might be that much closer to pushing the Chrysalons off of the playing board, actually. So if I were to capture the last Silicioid planet, that would be another race I exterminated. How close are they? They got 2 worlds still. Boy, they did more damage than I anticipated. Alright, so battling the Klackons. They don't suck as much as I anticipated, but they still suck. Who are we kidding? Alright, so this has been episode 3 of the Humanverse. And I will talk to you all later.